Welcome back to the 8-Man Breakdowns podcast. This is where we discuss all phases of the game of football, including philosophy, play concepts, questions, and more. Joining me today is Coach Kyle Fender. Coach Fender is the head football coach at Fairfield High School in Langdon, Kansas. He's been coaching now for 11 years, with 10 of those in the 8-man game, and is currently entering his third season as the head coach at Fairfield. Coach Fender's coaching career includes stops at Sterling College, Greeley County, and then most recently now at Fairfield High School, where he led a remarkable turnaround, breaking a 17-game losing streak and leading Fairfield into the playoffs for the first time in 29 years. Well, Coach, thanks for joining me today.
Coach, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to have you. So first, just tell us a little about your football background, coaching journey, and how you got started coaching football.
Absolutely. Grew up Kingman High School. Played middle school there, obviously. Went into high school. Not much of a rich tradition, you could say, at the time. I had 3 different head coaches in 4 years there at Kingman. Ended up winning 6 games my whole high school career. Had a 0-9 season my senior year to cap it all off. And then there just wasn't a lot of consistency in those years. Went on, was fortunate enough to play at Sterling College. Got a football scholarship there under Andy Lambert. Just thankful to get the opportunity to be there, and ended up having a nice career while I was there, and capped it off with a conference championship my senior year.
And I remember most of this you talked about briefly in your clinic presentation too. Only winning 6 games in high school. How has that impacted you as a coach?
I think it showed. There's a lot of things that we did at Kingman really well. Obviously, winning wasn't one of them at the time, but you're just taking those experiences and magnifying them, and then just using the losses. It showed me the other side of it. It wasn't all glitz and glamour all the time. I mean, just being able to persevere through that. A lot of our losses there, not necessarily because we didn't have a whole lot of great athletes or great coaches or whatnot, but we played in a really tough area, lining up against Garden Plain, Andale, Clearwater, Andover Central, Wellington, Mulvane, all them guys, and we were just the little guy there, and it just taught a lot of perseverance. And again, like I said, I was fortunate enough to move on to Sterling College and got to experience the other side of things when I was there.
Getting into coaching, and obviously you had mentors and coaches that impact you or push you into that direction or opened your eyes to the opportunity of becoming a coach.
Yeah, I think, my freshman and sophomore year, that was the 1 year of high school that I had the same coach. And I actually had I don't know if you want to call it misfortune to get to coach against him, because, we didn't end up winning this year, but Lee Smith, he's with Reno County Homeschool now, but he was a big influence for me that freshman, sophomore year. Just a guy that, I don't know what he saw in me, but I was able to, get a significant amount of playing time, especially that sophomore year as a tight end, which I'm the furthest thing from a tight end. Just got me going on that. Another coach I think of from my high school days would be Zach Westhoff. He was a position coach. He was our weights teacher, PE teacher. Really got me thinking along the lines of getting into PE and just being a coach, those types of things. Some other ones, I'd have to say, during my time at Sterling, a lot of guys there that were very influential for me. Both of the Lamberts, Andy and Chuck, were huge influences for me. Just the way they carried themselves beyond coaching, just as good men. They provide a blueprint of what to exhibit there, and I don't always do that, but they certainly provided a great model for me. Another one would be my position coach at the time, Chase Hansen. Just another one. The way he broke down the game just provided a lot of insights. I learned more about being an offensive lineman in the years that I played under him than I thought I could ever learn. So those would be the ones that come to mind right offhand.
Only one of them talking about scheme wise. The others just great role models and guys that, like Coach Smith, you said, seeing something in you that maybe you didn't see. You know that? I mean, that's awesome.
I say misfortune just because we lost to his team. It was a real pleasure to get to
Hmm.
coach against him. And so,
How many games did they win? They were solid last year.
oh, I
Because didn't they win a couple 11-man games too at the end of the year?
they play a mixed schedule of 8-man and 11-man, and I mean they won some 11-man games. They won some. I think they ended up like 7-2 or something like that. It was,
Yeah.
like I said, it was. They definitely put on a clinic against us. So
Well, here, talk a little bit more about college. So you said tight end, and you said O line. So I'm assuming when you played tight end, it was more of a blocking tight end role. Can you talk about what you played on the line, the scheme, and how that translates maybe even into your offense today?
yeah, so the tight end that was just we had a great lineman my sophomore year of high school, and I was thrown out there as a tight end. Just hey, let's get him on the field. Um, I think I got one ball thrown to me, and it was thrown to my feet because the quarterback was getting sacked. I was there just to be an extra blocker. Um, transition on to college. Really didn't really want to play offensive line. I didn't care much for it. I liked defense. I liked tackling, doing that type of stuff. And then after a year of getting redshirted at Sterling, Coach Lambert comes to me and says, "Hey, we want to move you to, offensive line." And I thought that was the biggest demotion that I could possibly get, and I wasn't happy about it. But in their infinite wisdom, they sure knew what was best. I played, the next 4 years at offensive line, and made a great career out of it. Just switching between guard, tackle. Um, did most of my time as a tackle.
You guys pretty run heavy offensively in college then?
We had a good mixture. Run and pass. I felt like we were probably better running the ball just because of the athletes that we had. We had a very, very good group of running backs, slot backs, that type of thing. Quarterback was a great runner. Reggie Langford, he's now I think he's the head coach over at Sterling now. But yeah, we just had a bunch of good athletes, talented athletes, and we just tried to do our best not to get in their way.
You got to go back and coach there for a year. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, went back, got a teaching job at Lyons High School, and was able to go back and coach at Sterling there for a year as a defensive line coach. And really, it was just trying not to screw things up. I mean, the Lamberts had their system, firing on all cylinders, and I'm just trying to make sure I don't substitute too much because we had a good group of defensive linemen, and I learned a lot in that just from the other side of the ball. I felt like I could bring some things of, hey, this is what an offensive lineman's trying to do to you. Here's how you can give them problems. But I learned just as much, on the defensive side as anything. It was just defensive line coach.
And all while teaching your first year there at Lions.
Yep. In special education, which I had no training for. I was, teaching on a waiver and taking classes, trying to figure that out, just get my foot in the door of education, and very eye-opening just to see that part of things. So
what took you out to Greeley County then?
Well, going out to Greeley County, that was just a chance to get to teach in my field of choice with, being PE. And, it's a 4-day school week. They repay student loans for you. Coaching wasn't really, I knew I wanted to coach, but it wasn't my priority going out there. My priority was just, hey, I'm ready to be a PE teacher. I'm ready to try and get some of these student loans paid back. And Greeley County was one that I was fortunate enough to get offered the job, and had a great time out there, and lots of great people out that way.
Moving on a little bit from that into now at Fairfield, going into my next question here. What separates your program from others out there in the eight-man world?
I don't know if it necessarily separates. I mean, there's a lot of programs doing a lot of really good things. And really what I try to do is steal everybody else's great ideas and implement them here at Fairfield or wherever I'm at. And, we just tweak it to our unique location. So I guess, one of the biggest things is, we want to focus on the people outside of the game of football itself. The parents, we want to make them feel special and involved. We want to make the elementary kids feel involved. The whole student body, we want to make just feel special and like that they had some part in the success of the football team. And it's been a great deal for us. Like I said, I can get more into the special things that we do.
Yeah, first, can you talk about like when you talk about the entire community of Fairfield for somebody who doesn't know how it's made up of, multiple towns and all that?
Yeah. So the community of Fairfield, the school district itself ranges about, I want to say about 400 square miles. We service 6 little towns: Sylvia, Arlington, Abbeville, Plevna, Langdon, Turon. And they're all little towns, not a lot of businesses. Arlington and Turon, they have restaurants, and that's a big deal. But overall, just, little small towns, and they all come to Fairfield, which is right out in the middle of nowhere. We're just on a county road, and it's a nice facility. But like I said, it's hard to get communities involved when you're not tied to a community. So, we try to, like I said, service all of those towns. And then on top of the towns, you have the country kids that, could range anywhere from, it might be a 30-minute drive to school. So there's just a lot of area that we cover, and trying to bring everybody in creates a challenge.
Talk about a little bit more of like some of the things you're doing to do that, focus on the people outside of the game.
Yep. We have a saying, it's make the big time where you're at. So again, some of the things that we do with that, we do a mom's camp, because if you can get the moms on your side and they think that the football program is great, you're going to have kids get out there. So, we do a mom's camp. We serve dinner at it, talk through safety precautions. We have them try on the helmets, try on the shoulder pads, answer questions. And a lot of times they have questions that I would have never thought of, like, why do you go with the speed flex and not the shut F7s anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't think about that. Things like that. We try to end it with a photo shoot, because what mom doesn't want to have a picture with their son and in their football gear? And we open it all up to, like I said, moms, sisters, aunts, grandmas, whoever wants to come in. And it doesn't have to just be the moms of our players. Another thing that we did a youth camp, just getting the kids of Fairfield to want to grow up to be Fairfield Falcons. Our players have done an awesome job of running that. We go 2 nights and just get the kids out there having fun right before school starts. Just kind of a last thing at the end of summer. To get the dads involved. A lot of times dads know more, and a lot of times they're not afraid to tell you how much they know about football and how they did it in their day, that type of thing. So I try to bring them in, and we watch film together. We have film with dads. We watch our jamboree. And a lot of times that, say, this is why I was yelling at your kid because he keeps doing this, or hey, he did a nice job reading this play, and gets them more the schematics of things. They like seeing that. And
Mm-hmm.
then you get them on your side because, now they know what to look for. And if they see that their kid isn't doing that, now you have a secondary
Reinforcement.
a reinforcement. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I mean everybody in the stadium is a coach when the game's going, you know. I mean they all know what play should have been called, right? So
Yep.
now they're probably more on your side. They at least understand what you're doing and why you're doing it, maybe watching film. I think that's awesome. I've never done anything like that or even heard of anything like that to be honest. A
You
depth
have to
film
be ready
session.
to listen to the criticism on it because
Yeah.
there are times where it's like, you know, for every play that I say, this is why I called this and this is why we messed it up,
Hmm.
I have to come back twice and say, probably shouldn't have called that play right there. So you got to be willing to take some criticism with it. And I think it makes you more relatable
Yeah.
to fans, to the parents of,
Hmm.
hey, I don't know everything. And
Is that just a one-time thing, like watching that jamboree at the beginning of the year with the
it currently it is. If I lived closer to Fairfield, I live in Hutchinson. It's a 30-minute drive for me to work every day.
Mhm.
Um, if we had a town and everyone was more centrally located, I'd love to make it a Saturday morning coffee and film.
Yeah.
I'll bring the donuts and we watch the game from the night before.
Yeah.
That's I'm trying to think where I got that idea. I think I was watching Texas Six, the Amazon Prime 6-man football about Strawn, and he's got all these townsfolk sitting in there watching film with him. And,
Mhm.
that's not a bad idea. Could be
Yeah.
a bad idea depending on how the game went, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, if you're doing it every game, might yeah. But no,
yeah,
I think that's awesome though. Like we don't have jamborees in Nebraska, unfortunately. They have it for every other sport, I think, but not
yeah,
football yet. Anyway, going back to what you said about the youth camp too, didn't you mention in your clinic something about you have the players sign autographs too?
yeah. So that's an idea that I got from, I want to say Smith Center always did it, um, and then we did it while I was at Sterling. The seniors would sign, the team picture.
Hmm.
Well, so one of the things I started doing was just to get kids excited and make our guys feel big time. Was I do little playing cards and I get me your favorite football picture. I put it into remove the background, throw some lightning or fire behind it, and put your name and number on there. Um, and then our guys will sit and sign autographs as all the elementary kids, and it gets them. You throw it on cardstock paper so it feels like a actual card, um, and they go by and just gets everybody excited about like I said, just signing autographs, giving you that big time feel.
I mean, a kid experiencing that, not only signing the picture, the autograph, but the kid getting it and wanting to be on the other side someday. Man, I can't wait till I get to be
Yep.
signing the autographs and be the big guy playing high school.
A lot of these kids here, um, they have not experienced anything outside of Western Reno County. Um, so they don't get to go to the Kansas City Chiefs game and get Patrick Mahomes' autograph or, right there. So like, yeah, he's their idol, but they can go see a Chase Combs, a William McIver, a Gavin Foster, anybody like that, and that can be their hero, and get their autograph and get a picture with them, and say hi to them as they get off the bus. Um, so yeah, that's something that um, is pretty special that I feel like we do, and along with that, welcoming. We have our game day greeting, where our football players line up, and as kids get off the bus, they're giving high fives, they're running through the football tunnel um, as they go into school, and it just sets them up for a good day. I feel like, and again, if the more they see us, the more they're going to want to get out and support on a Friday night, and hopefully we can pack our bleachers. because the kids want to go watch the football game. And if the kids want to, then a lot of times the parents feel pressured to bring the kids. So
No doubt. First of all, starting the elementary kids off on a good day, excited. They're getting the attention from the stars, the football guys, like you said, they're heroes on Friday nights. Then, like you said too, the more support and future involvement, hopefully from those kids in football. I love all that. So that's awesome stuff that you're doing there. So, and again, even if it ain't your original idea, nothing is anymore, right? You gotta just take it and make it into your own. I haven't done anything like this, so I loved all this and for ideas for what we can do. Like the minimum we can do is Fridays have our kids go out there with their jerseys on and look fancy and cheer on the elementary. That's definitely something that I gotta. I hope that I can be as smart as you and maybe design some playing cards, or something. But we'll see. But anyway, I think that is a great answer for the things that separate you guys, some different things you do. Now, if you would talk about your offense, your unbalanced power wing, and what it is and the approach to it, and just whatever you'd like to share.
yeah, so with the power wing, as we were just as I was looking to get all right, what's Fairfield need? Um, for one, they need an identity, something that's going to separate us. Um, and the communities are very blue collar, and so I think that there's just an appreciation for the way we're doing things, of just grinding it out, taking our time, 3 yards in a cloud of dust type mentality. It has allowed our communities to really buy into that, because that's what they understand is hard work. Um, it also, we just try simplifying things. It allows our coaches, they can focus on fewer things, makes it easier for us to become experts in those few things. We can install the whole offense in 1 week, and then we're just polishing the rest of the season. We might throw something in here and there, but we're not trying to trick anybody, just because we'll end up fooling ourselves if we get too tricky. I like the unbalanced. We're always unbalanced line, just because it gives us favorable angles. We teams have to adjust to it. You have a heavy side, and if you don't put at least 5 guys over there, we have numbers, and we're just going to run it to the strong side. If try to put 6 guys over there and really take away that, right now you're leaving 2 guys, and it makes it easy. We can still get to that short side pretty quick. And then just taking our time. The best defense is an efficient offense, and if we can take, our goal is to take as much time off the clock as possible. We want to get the ball first, and we'll give it back to you after half. That's kind of our mentality, if everything goes according to plan. But we had what we have. We want to have 30 plus minutes time of possession by the end of the game. Have 2 takeaways. If we do that, 2 takeaways defensively, if we can do that, we're going to be in every single ball game. Unless of course the athletes on the other side are just that dynamic. But we had, I think, 6 drives this year that took 10 plus minutes off the clock. We didn't score on all of them, but just the fact that we're getting the ball and we don't give it back to you until there's 2 minutes left in the half is a huge thing for us. So
I love all this. I love the reason behind it. It fits your community, the hard work, grinding it out, getting things done. And then simplifying. Definitely. I mean, and just having an identity that you polish it after week 1. I think that is awesome.
The times that Fairfield has had success, they've had great running backs, or they've had a great running game. One of their running backs holds the state record for rushing yards in a season. Cannon Burns is his name. And you go back, and like I said, they were just a power I team, and give him the ball and let him go to work. Lets us get the ball in our best athletes' hands immediately. There's no there's no middleman. Like I said, we're just running, quarterback counter, quarterback sweep. We don't even really call them the quarterback, but
You call them backs and what?
bigs and backs.
Bigs and
We have
backs.
bigs and backs. Just taking everything else out, because the more terminology I found that you have, the harder it is. And even in our system right now, I find ourselves getting too wordy or too complicated in things that we do, and we have to scale it back even more. Because, like you said, with when you're at Stafford, just simplifying things has been huge for us. Allowing our players not to have to think, just go be fast and go be as athletic as you can be.
The 3 yards in a cloud of dust mentality. Let's say you're playing a team that's faster paced, or like you said, maybe has better athletes. Do you stick to that same approach no matter what?
Yeah, we have, just because we're still in I guess, the infant stages of putting this offense in. We haven't gotten into like the spin series that I'd like to, the reads, that type of thing. A lot of times you just have that self-realization of sometimes it's not our night. And, it's hard to do that, just because I don't want to get us outside of what we know. When we start trying to put in things that we're already not good at, we're not great at throwing the ball. We're not great at catching it. We could spend a ton of time practicing it, but that is all time lost practicing the stuff that we are good at. So if we get in a game and we're behind 3-4 touchdowns, it's unlikely that we're going to come back into that one, just because of the style that we play. But it's not totally impossible. I mean, we can break off some long runs. I mean, we do have some pass plays that we'll throw in there from time to time. We'll spread some things out, but it's still a simplistic approach to it. I mean, we're not looking to, run all these rub routes and those type of concepts. But yeah, like you said, that is the one downside of the offense, is if you get behind, it's hard to come back. So that's why it's so important for us to control the ball. I mean, we have to hold on to the ball as long as possible. Because again, if we get behind 3-4 scores, it's tough for anybody to come back from that. It's especially difficult for us. We also put a premium on getting some takeaways defensively. Like, we got to force some turnovers, get ourselves some extra possessions.
And no matter what, like you said, if anybody gets down that many scores in a game in an eight man, it's going to be tough to come back. But yeah, a run heavy offense obviously is going to be a little bit more limited in those situations too. But anyways, so here switching gears a little bit, but talking about practice a little bit. You specifically said becoming experts. The whole offense is in. All of us coaches are experts at what we do. What specific drills or practices can help you become masters at your offense? Like, what do you guys do?
We have our EDs, so our everyday drills. Our offensive line, we're working steps. We're working steps. We want to beat the defender from the first step. So we're working on all, whether it's a base step, whether it's our angle step, our sweep step, our 2 different pull styles. We're working on our steps, stance and starts. From there, offensive line, we're getting into combos, just working hip to hip, working on the sled, working on hand shields, live situations. We want to get, getting hip to hip, 4 hands on, 4 eyes off. We want to be great double teaming, and then recognizing where we need to go. Our backs are working on kicks and logs. And then whether or not we're going to burst, bend, bounce. We're trying to teach them to be patient. Don't outrun your blockers. Just be patient. Get 4, get 3. That's what we're after. Um, our kicks and logs, everybody's got to be able to block for us. If you can't block, it's hard. It's hard for us to put you out there unless it's in special circumstances. So we're teaching them. If we're trying to kick out a guy, hey, we're aiming inside shoulder. Let him beat you outside. We're going underneath you anyway, and then our backs have to be able to read those blocks as they're coming through. If he tries to wrong arm or spill, that's fine. He's always wrong. If we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, the defense is always wrong. If he's trying to spill, those types of things, or wrong arm us, then we're just logging it and we're teaching our backs, all right, you have to read your lead blocker's butt. Get on his butt. If he logs in, all right, now you're bouncing around outside. And then I said probably the most athletic thing that we do is our burst, bend, bounce. And that's just as you come through the line, are you bursting upfield? Are you going to bounce it outside? Or are you going to bend it backwards, backside? And just reading that second level, here's where they get to go be an athlete. I teach them to be patient through, and then once you get through, now you can go be your athlete. Really what our offensive practice starts out with every single day. And then, we'll get into, some schematics, that type of thing of, hey, they're going to line up like this, or if they line up like this, we'll get into some of that, but that's not the primary focus for us.
So obviously, and you may have said this in the clinic, but I don't remember if you'd said it here yet today, but any rules or O-line type rules that, because obviously you have an unbalanced line. So
Yep.
how does the rules apply within an unbalanced line to make sure your guys know what they're doing against any defense? But talk about that a little bit more. O-line rules or what you guys do with that O-line scheme.
So our overarching rule is called goal. So gap on linebacker. And again, we have some zone stuff, but we're also, gap scheme, pulling guards, that kind of thing. So we have a mixture of a lot of things within what we're doing. But our overarching blocking rule is gap on linebacker. You have to understand based on the number that we call. So if we call a 26 kick, you've got to know, all right, we're trying to go to the 6 hole. I've got to step to my gap. If there's somebody there, I take him. If there's nobody there, is there somebody on me? Yes or no on that. If there is, I take him. If there's not, I'm climbing the linebacker. Some of that can change just depending on, where people are aligned. But for the most part, that's the overarching rule for every play that we have is step to your gap. If there's somebody there, take him. If there's not, check if somebody's on you. If there's not, climb to linebacker. Don't look back.
I mean, that makes it really simple. 3 things: gap on linebacker. Go through your rules. What kind of defense do you see adjusting to your unbalanced line? I mean, I know in my time running, your average not unbalanced or power wing type offense across Kansas, we saw a lot of 3-2s. Here, this past year, I saw 2-3-1s, and which was really unique, and then multiple 3-3 stacks. What do you guys see, I guess, on an average week?
We see all of it. I mean, probably mostly. Teams try to generally stick to what they're normally doing, and then they just bump over to our unbalanced side.
Mm-hmm.
But we do see a lot of uniqueness just in. I know Central Christian, they ran a 3-3 against us and inverted everybody as far as defensive line. Just had everybody in tight, and then those linebackers would start to walk down, and they had your outside, and that gave us fits. Not because the angles weren't there; it was just something different, and they had some talented guys that gave us some problems as well. But 3-3, 4-2 is a big one. I mean, people walk their corners and their safeties, DBs, whatever. They walk them down. So we get a 3-5 a lot of times, or 5-3, just depending on how you want to look at it. But honestly, the more people that you put up on the line of scrimmage, the better for us, because now my linemen don't have to climb. Everything's right there. Mm-hmm. And if we break through once, it doesn't matter where we're at. If we break through that first level, we're gone. So that's, like I said, we see a lot of everything. And you never know really what to expect, because everyone's got their own little quirk of how they're gonna play you. And yeah. So
you mentioned the best defense is an efficient offense, and I would agree. I think the offense can certainly make things much easier for the defense. But anyway, how do you balance controlling the clock, but also not being overly predictable offensively?
I don't know that we're doing anything to stop being predictable. It's one of those that, honestly, we're very predictable. It's something that I need to grow as a coach of, hiding things a little bit more. But
let's say that you're running your sweep, and even if you think it's set up or it looks there, but it's not working, do you have an answer off of it to counter off of?
Every play that we have has a counter with it. Mm-hmm. And this is probably where I'm predictable too, is a lot of times if the sweep doesn't work, let's try the reverse, because the sweep wasn't working. So obviously, they've got guys overplaying it and they're just in position for us. We do change up some of our blocking. If we're running sweep, we like to, if our middle guard is covered by a slow guy, we like to pull him. So we'll add an extra puller out there and just get one more guy out blocking. If it's a fast lineman that's coming through, all right, keep him in there. And, we can adjust things on the fly with that. But then a lot of it too comes down to our quarterback receiving the ball, his pre-snap read. If he sees, all right, they've got 6 guys to the strong side and we have a sweep called, he's got the ability to just, audible and change it to a quick counter. And now we have numbers on the other side. So a lot of it goes into just trusting that quarterback position to get a quality pre-snap read of, hey, they are way overplaying this. We can adjust here. Mm-hmm. Got to have the right guy in there. And I felt like, this past year we had a really nice quarterback in there, Connor Fowler, who's actually going to play in the 8-man All-Star game. Just did a great job for us reading those things. Something that we'll continue to grow on will be communicating it so that everybody's on the same page as we come up. But yeah, just that pre-snap read is huge for us. If he sees something of, hey, you have sweep called, but there's 6 guys over there. All right, let's go with the counter. If it works, that's great. I'm not going to get on a kid about that. If it works, that type of thing. But if it doesn't, then I might have some words for him. And so
if you're trying to control more clock, that's going to take away potential your audible change time. But mm-hmm. Is that more game plan specific? Like, okay, this team, we might audible more?
Absolutely. If we see something in film, we're going to communicate that to our bigs and backs. Hey, if they do this, I don't care what I have called, you're checking to this. Mm-hmm. So we try to get all that stuff in and just have it ready to go.
Talk about last year a little bit. What happened? How'd the season go overall? Just talk about last year.
I can't take a whole lot of credit for anything just because we have a very hard-working group of kids. That's what really elevated us last year. Go 4-5, and you might think still a losing record, but man, just to see the excitement in those kids of, for one, winning games, 2, not getting, we got 45 twice, which, that it happens. It is what it is. But just the fact of, hey, we're consistently playing full games and expecting to play full games was huge. And like I said, it's all the kids. We just have a hardworking bunch that has really taken to our mantra of compete regardless. And so it made that season a pretty special one, even at 4-5. And so, we were able to get to the playoffs. Second time in school history. So that was just a real significant thing for those guys to accomplish. And when you really think about it, when we haven't even made it since they've expanded the playoffs. And so that just tells you how far down Fairfield had been. And hopefully we've got the ship righted, and that way we can, the playoffs are it's just a formality. We want to be hosting playoff games now. So
I was looking at your schedule there. Play Victoria first round.
yep, played Victoria. That was it was the game was awful. I'll just to be honest, we went into it. Us as coaches, you can't help but hope. Like, man, if we'll do this, like maybe we can knock these guys off it. I mean, it wasn't going to matter. They were just really stout, in all aspects.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the other goal for that game was, going into it, we had two guys, our two primary backs. I think one was 50 yards away from 1,000 yards on the season, and the other one was 70 yards away from 1,000 on the season. It's like, man, if we can let's get those two guys to 1,000 yards for the season. That didn't happen either, unfortunately. But after the game, we're able to take away some positives of, guys, this is the position we want to be in. We want to be playing great teams, because that means that we're starting to get better. We're starting to go further. We want to be up against great teams. Mm-hmm. And so it didn't take the sting out of it as much as I'd hoped, but it certainly gave us some optimism and positivity for this coming season. Just with returning 6 seniors this next year, it's the future's bright right now. So,
no doubt, when you make the playoffs, and again, playing the team that represented the West in the state championship, and I know their actual score was a lot worse than the game showed. I watched it online. I'm going to go to it, but I felt like they were probably the best opponent, and I guess maybe Frankfurt was the best opponent Axtell played all year, because that semis was a really good game. But anyways, yeah, Victoria obviously a legit team, so definitely something to build on. I mean, speaking of that, going into next year, then what are you most excited about? What's the biggest focus heading into next year?
I mean, the thing I'm most excited about is this will be the first time, I think, in my coaching career that I've had a primarily upperclassmen team. So we returned 6 seniors, 4 of which have been starters on the offensive line this past year and contributors, the past 2 years that I've been here. One of the other seniors is going to fill in real nicely on the offensive line. We'll be 4 seniors and a junior across the front starting out, which is really exciting for me. And my hope is that it doesn't really matter who we put behind those guys, because they're just going to get after it. But just looking forward to building on the successes that we've had, and just see how these guys continue to grow, and just transfer that winning mentality to the younger guys that are coming in that haven't experienced necessarily all the hardships that this group of seniors and the seniors that came before them endured with the just not having the success that they wanted. So I'm excited for the guys we have coming back, and just seeing what we can do to build on our success.
Continuing the consistency, like you said before, of now it's another year. I mean, now they already know the offense, the defense too, for that matter, but building onto it with some experienced guys, that's going to be exciting. That'll be fun. And you got any athletic kids to put back there at one of your backs?
Yeah, we returned Brody Snodgrass. He was one of the guys that was just under 1,000 yards rushing on the season. Super dynamic guy. As long as we can keep him healthy and playing fast, we're going to have a chance every week. After that, we lose Connor Fowler. But it's just there's a lot of guys that I'm hoping can step into that role. A lot of young guys, um, just with freshmen, sophomores, juniors that I'm looking to really step in. Big ones would be maybe William McIver. Um, Trying to think of Jalen Busick could be another one. Again, young guys. Got a freshman, incoming freshman that has some real potential to be an outstanding back for us is Bo Langner. Um, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a number of guys, but yeah, we have a lot of guys that I think could do some really nice things for us. So
Kind of winding down here, but next question is, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give a young coach just getting into eight-man football or just coaching, period? Biggest piece of advice you'd give?
I mean, I'd say find ways to involve your community, the entire community in your team. Um, it's just everybody gets to have a piece of it, and you'll find that there's a lot of people out there that have ideas, and you just have to sift through, hey, is this a good idea, is this a bad idea? There's going to be bad ideas out there that you thought were good ideas, and um, don't be afraid to try them out, and then if they work, great, you look like a genius. If they don't work, all right, let's move on, type deal.
I took that away from you talking about it earlier. Find ways and there's so many different things you can do, and you're doing a ton of them. But find ways to involve your community. I've always personally been a more internal. Now I'm not a very outwardly social guy. I guess so. And unfortunately for me, I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, I've been at a lot of places, and everyone I've been at least 2 years. Solomon was for 3 years, but I was never. I've been a new guy many times. Is what I'm trying to get to, I guess. And so I need to do a better job of doing that. I got to find ways to get involved with the community and get them involved. So I love the advice there. I definitely need to take that and apply it here.
I'd also say with that, just focus on the positives of it. A lot of times if you're taking over a program, it's usually not in the best of shape, I'd say. If you're a new coach getting into that head spot, there's probably a reason that job's open. Um, Not always the case, but that's been the case in my experience. Is just be outwardly positive. We end each game with a huddle that the community can come down to, and it doesn't matter if we win by 50 or lose by 50. We're focusing on giving shout outs for positive things. There's some nights that it's easier than others. And then there's nights where, like the one we had in Victoria, that we were just happy that no one got hurt type deal. Happy to just get out of there and, move on with it. So um, having that outward positivity, it's going to draw people to your program because nobody wants to be a part of a losing program, but no one wants to be part of a negative losing program.
Yeah, that negative attitude won't help anything, no matter what. I agree. I think that's awesome too. I think you're also taking ownership too. I mean, finding a positive even in all the negative, even if it is a negative, if you lost the game or whatever, but not running away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did we do good? What now we can focus on the negative, getting back at practice next week, to
Yeah,
improve or whatever, or in the weight room or whatever it is we need to do. But yeah, no, I like that a lot too. And again, you're getting your community involved right there. So here, last couple questions, I guess, just for some bonus here. But do
okay.
you help out with the off-season training, weightlifting and summer weights? Do you do
Yeah,
anything
I
with
run the weight room in the summer.
how many days a week you guys go, and what do you do? What time? I know obviously you have kids coming from all over, so talk about that.
Like I said, we have guys coming from all over, so we try to limit the number of times kids have to come up to Fairfield because again, it's a 20-minute drive just for just about everybody, and that starts to add up with gas and taking time out of the workday, that type of thing. So we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. so they can be out and get onto their jobs. We're trying to live by the motto of more isn't better, better is better. We want absolute focus when you're here. We don't want to just start bringing guys in for the sake of bringing them in. So yeah, that's kind of how our summer works. And then we're going to try out going down to the Southwestern's contact camp and just see, like I said, see how that goes out for us and stay the night there and have a team bonding experience, hopefully. But other than that, said we don't try to burn them out in the summer. We want them hungry coming back there in August. So
Basically, just talk about Kansas eight-man football for those that aren't involved in it, the direction of it, how it's going, what the future looks like, and then the Kansas eight-man All-Star game. Obviously, you said you have a kid playing in it, but I know you're gonna be coaching it too. So talk about that. Just Kansas eight-man football right now and the All-Star game and any thoughts that come to mind.
I'll about Kansas eight-man football. It's been great for me. Just the community and the camaraderie amongst the coaches. Um, I feel like you can call any coach up and ask, hey, what would you do in this situation, or have you ever dealt with this struggle? And it's just a great community of men that are always willing to help each other out. But the football is great as well. I'm excited to. I don't know if excited is the right word, but I'm interested to see how the new enrollment numbers will affect it. But it's not going to change how we run things at Fairfield. So we're just excited to keep competing and doing that type of thing. So
And I remember reading the email. It's been a little while. Like I still get Stafford emails because I get forwarded some AD information that's still included to me. So
Mhm.
anyway, I did see the Keisha update on the enrollments. What is it? I didn't read into it deeply. What's the big change?
I believe the eight-man number is going to go up to 110 from 100. And then they're upping the six-man number from 55 to 65, I think is the new number. So
Okay.
um,
55 to 65. So there's going to be potentially more six-man teams. And then,
ended up for some more six-man teams because I know there are some um, that had forfeited their eight-man season. Just hey, we're better off. We're better suited for six-man, but
yep,
we're forced to play eight-man.
yep.
I think the same thing has happened on the 8-man to 11-man side, and that's the reason for upping the number.
Yep.
But I know it's a hot topic for some folks. It's like I said, I don't really feel one way or another about it.
Yeah.
It's not going to change how we play football at Fairfield. So
Yeah.
we're just gonna
You
roll the
guys,
punches.
yeah, I'm assuming you guys will be. I mean, I don't know. What are your team numbers? I'm assuming you'll stay eight-man two for a while, I mean,
I
for
think it's
the
going to put
long
us more
future.
comfortably in Division Two.
Hmm. What's the team numbers looking like? How many you guys you have?
I mean, we could have anywhere from I think I had 26 at my spring meeting. Obviously one or two kids has moved away since then. Maybe one or two will move in. My hope is to be around 20.
Yeah.
And it might be like with 20, we can run, varsity and JV, because that'll be huge for us with the number of underclassmen we have coming in, as if we can get them some good JV games.
Yeah, I think 20, that's a pretty solid number. I mean, now here I'm really lucky. We'll have far more than that. In
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska, they just this past spring here, NSAA passed, there will be a third eight-man division in 2 seasons. So not this year, but 2026. There's going to be eight-man 1, 2, and 3, and
Nope.
they also have six-man. Now they do it differently here too. The enrollment numbers are based upon boys and girls separately. So they take boy enrollment to decide your football classification. So, which is kind of nice. I mean, that would I wish Kansas would have done something like that because then you hurt, these the eight-man teams that are forced to go six-man that don't have any boys. Now I
Mm-hmm.
mean, now they would no longer be punished if they did that. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's no perfect fit all solution, but at least they're trying to adjust again. to
For sure.
the six man. Last thing, then I guess if you want to talk on the eight-man All-Star game or more on Fairfield as a whole, what it's like that community and being there and the tradition and what any thoughts that you want to share for your for the last couple minutes here.
8-man All-Star game. I'm excited to get to be a part of it. I've heard great things um, about the Beloit community, and then just getting to go up there and coach with um, some great guys, and then also having a team of all stars is going to be something that I think will be really fun and just a great experience all around. Really looking forward to a week of football up there, and I'm fortunate enough to have two Fairfield players playing in it, Connor Fowler and Garrett Lanning. We were able to get a couple of guys in that, and then just getting to reconnect with a couple guys that coached over at Greeley County that ended up making it. So just real excited to get to see all those guys and coach them one more time, that type of deal. So,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
then,
that'll be awesome. It's obviously a lot of fun. I mean, and you're going to be an assistant, right?
yep, assistant.
Yeah.
So,
So, and the assistant role is even funner because you don't have to do anything other than supervise and hang out and, enjoy like you said, coaching the all stars. And who's the staff again? Tell me on yours.
so we have Matt Barnett from Central Christian. I believe he's going to be running the defense, and then um, Trevor Powell from Buckland is going to be running the offense.
You might be the
Well,
special teams guy then. That's what.
that's that's all right with me. I just kick it through the end zone.
Yep.
That's what we're going to do. So
I
we have a guy to do it.
when I was the head coach last year, that's what I did. I just did the special teams. I let Coach Hausman from Hodgman run the offense, and Coach Dunlap from Kinsley ran the defense. So we did not work much special teams, but for punt we did a spread punt, and then we worked on the onside kick, and we did get an onside kick in that game. That was fun. But you're in the West, right? For
Yep.
some reason, I was thinking you guys got pushed to the East, but even though,
Well, we're on that line. Last year I had a kid in the All Star game and he played for the Division Two East.
Mhm.
Now I've got a couple guys in there on the Division Two West.
Yep,
So we just go back and forth, depending on district alignment.
yep. Yep, am looking at it again now on K Preps. You guys are District 5, so the West. That makes sense. I was gonna say that was gonna be interesting if you were coaching the West when you were on the East, but yeah, which that has been done.
Mm-hmm.
My senior year, Coach Cope from B&B, he was my coach my senior year, and he was the head coach for the Division 2 East, which was what I was on, and he had South Barber coach was going to be his assistant, and I forget who the other one. Those two assistants, but essentially both of them took 11-man jobs from 8-man, and they didn't want to coach in the 8-man All-Star game. So after they had already committed to it, and it was so late in the summer or so late in the school year when that happened that he couldn't find a replacement. So what Cope did was Tiernan ran the defense for our Division Two East, even though he was a coach from Division One West because he was coaching at Osborne at the time. That was literally the year after he left B&B to go to Osborne. So he coached me and two other B&B kids, his former players, even though he was coaching in a different division and on a different side. But so that has happened. I wish they would let assistant coaches to if like if nobody wanted to do it because I always wanted to. I was the assistant coach for Tiernan for however many years. I mean, just a high school assistant, not the all stars, and I always wanted to do it, and there was never a rule or like option or possibility to do it. So, but anyway, luckily I got asked by Coach Powell 2 years ago, so got to go back last year. But it'll be fun. It'll be a really fun time for you. I know probably the worst thing about the whole thing is that Saturday after the game, most of them kids you'll probably never see again, ever. That's the saddest, hardest part about it because you've been competing as a coach against these guys, but when you're around them, they're just obviously they're just your average high school kid, and they're good kids, and they're there for a reason, and you get to know them and build a relationship with them, and then yeah, then might not see them again. But last year, what I did that's helped me was I started a group me with all of our kids. I said, hey, everybody, the first day when we did the meeting, everybody had to go around, share their name, where they're from, kind of get them out of their comfort zone. And then they all had to give me their phone number, and then I added them to our group me group chat, and it was so easy. Like I just sent a message, "Hey, we're gonna meet, talk offense really quick in coach's room or whatever, and and then I had all their contact information, and then of course since then all of them have added me on Snapchat and randomly will send a message or like crap like that. So it's kind of cool. Can still obviously in today's world keep up with them even though I'll likely never see majority of them again. But yeah, it is an awesome time. It really is. And if you get to the chance to be the head coach next year, it's all worth it. Like it takes no time, and it's so fun. So, but yeah. Anyway, you'll have a great time. Other than make sure you bring some extra padding and pillows, because that those twin beds are awful.
Yeah.
So. Well, Coach, lastly, I just want to say it's been great getting to talk football with you today and really want to say thanks for taking the time to join me and wish you and Fairfield best of luck next season. I'm really excited to see how you and your team will do next season.
I appreciate you reaching out, and best of luck to you guys up there in Nebraska. Thank you for what you're doing with the eight man this podcast and what you're doing with the 8-man football community um, nationally.
I don't look at it as doing anything special. All I'm doing is talking football. And like just like you said earlier, the 8-man community, especially the Kansas, Nebraska, since it's so big here, like everybody is so willing to help and share. So it's just fun time. I enjoy talking to coaches, learning things and hearing different perspectives and ideas. And so yeah, that's what it's all about. So I appreciate that. But yeah, thank you very much, Coach, for the time to join me. And that's going to do it for this episode of the 8-Man Breakdowns podcast. If you ever have a question for me, feel free to comment below on this video or follow and message me on Twitter at 8-Man Breakdowns. If you've learned anything or enjoyed the video, please click subscribe and check out some of my other videos right here. And as always, guys, thanks for tuning in.